So I was hanging out with this guy. He was 19, living in a hotel, paying a few $100s a night, which was a lot of money at the time. And this guy was lazy. He never seemed to work. He barely worked out. He was doing all kinds of dumb stuff and none of the entrepreneurial productivity self-help hacks. So I just thought he had family money or something, because I was in full productivity grind mode. I was reading every day. I was working out 6 times a week, and I was making no money at the time. So there was no way that this lazy guy was doing better than me, right? Then one day we sat down and he explained his thought process on why he acted the way he did. And it blew my mind so hard that I said, forget everything I learned. Forget it. Forget university, forget all the books, forget all the YouTube videos. I'm gonna listen to this guy right here. So I know what you're thinking. What did he tell you? And I'm gonna tell you exactly what he said, but it's partly what he said, and it's partly the fact that he said it. This dude was some random 19-year-old guy who would just party, travel the world, play video games, chill pretty much all day. And he was the most successful person I'd ever met by a mile. My entire life before that point, successful people were broken into 2 categories. These super talented people who basically got lucky or were blessed with good genetics, or the hardcore disciplined, super smart, super capable people. And I didn't feel like I was either, but he introduced me to a 3rd category that anybody could be a part of. The average lazy person who could be the most successful of them all. So what did he tell me that changed my life? Well, there's 3 primary things. The first thing he said was everybody always has the same advice for being rich and successful, right? It's always some version of hard work and consistency. But he said, think about it. How many people do you know who work hard or study for every exam, who always show up for their job, but don't have a life anything like the life that you would want? And I thought about it and I was like, damn, that's pretty much like everybody who I knew. Like, I know people who worked hard. Some people worked harder than others for sure, but working an extra 10 hours wasn't going to be the difference to go from making $40,000 a year to making $1 million a year. So then he showed me something crazy. He showed me this random website that he made that was basically not getting a lot of traffic. It wasn't super popular. Nobody would have ever heard of it, but it was making him $10,000 a month. And then I thought, wait a minute, this guy has some random website that nobody's ever heard of. Not a popular business, not a popular blog, not a big social media channel. And there's almost no competition for this. And he's making $10,000 a month. And he has multiple of these websites. For that moment right there, I was thinking about life overall. For example, I thought the most successful YouTubers in the world were the most popular ones, but everybody's trying to be the next big YouTuber with millions of followers. So if you try to do that, you're competing with millions of people, right? And maybe out of those million people who are trying to do it, only 0.1% of them actually succeed. And those are just the people you would see. But when you're doing something different, you're not competing with millions of people, you're competing with a few dozen. And the reward can be essentially the exact same thing. There are YouTubers with 50,000 subscribers who are making 5-10 times more than somebody with 5 million subscribers, and their content is 10 times easier to make. So he said, stop trying to make entertainment content, or stop listening to all the ads for the new cool way to make money, and instead go where the masses aren't. Find people who are living the life that you want, who aren't advertising anywhere, and try to do that instead. So I said, okay, great, go where people aren't. But what does that even mean? How do you find where people aren't, and how do you make money from that? And he summarized that in one word: leverage. He said, stop looking at what makes the most money or what the most popular thing is, and instead start to think about what is something that has the best leverage, meaning what is something that you can get the most output from the least amount of work. So here's how that would work. Let's say that somebody works hourly. Their only leverage is additional time, and time is a finite resource. So that's very bad leverage. You could be a lawyer making $300 an hour. That's great money, but that's not very good leverage. So let's say that you're a traditional YouTuber. Your leverage might be the amount of videos that you upload or the quality of those videos. So that's okay leverage, but not the best. You still need to film, you still need to oversee scripts, edits, and you're doing a lot of additional work. But let's say that you have a business that could run entirely detached from your time. You could start by investing your time into the business, but eventually invest money, and the more money that you invest, the more money you would make. The more money you would make, the more money that you can invest. That's leverage. there is no cap on how far that could go. So when you're thinking about money, ironically, don't think about how much money you'll make. Instead, think about how much leverage you can have, because if you have a lot of leverage, eventually you'll have a lot of money. So this is how this worked for him, for example. He started out by making websites, writing out blogs, posting them, and everything else. But once he started to make money, he eventually hired a writer, and then eventually hired a manager so it would run passively. Then he used that extra time to create a second website, eventually hiring a writer, and eventually hiring a manager for that website. Then a third website, then a fourth website, and so on and so on. So although each of these individual websites didn't make the most amount of money in the world, they had incredibly high leverage. Essentially, they were zero risk or any upfront costs, and after it was up and running, it was only about 1 hour or less to manage the site. Plus, this is way less risky because he got to explore different niches and different types of content, and even try to make each different type of content better. If he was chasing the most amount of money up front, he would have done what everybody else does and tried to build some massive website or some massive YouTube channel, but it would have screwed himself over in the long run. People who do okay chase money, but the richest people in the world chase leverage. Okay, so leverage is key, but why does being lazy matter? Why wouldn't he just do the highest leverage tasks, but do them for 60 hours a week? Well, here's the thing. Being lazy is one of the main reasons why a lot of rich people are rich. Here's what he told me. He said, if you grind, you train your mind to grind. So even if you become successful, you'll subconsciously create problems to prevent you from reaching your goals in order to have something to grind towards. You can picture it like this. In order for you to work towards something, it requires you to not have that thing. So there's a gap between who you are today and who you want to become. The irony is you create a situation where you want to change. You don't want to change. You want to change. Okay, so let me clarify this a bit. So if somebody wants to change their life, they have to identify themselves with being the person who has the new behavior that they want to adapt, or a person who is becoming that person who has that new behavior. They can't try to adapt a new behavior. Here's a perfect example of what I mean. I dated a girl for a year, and she talked about the things that she was going to do, and I talked about the things that I was going to do at the same time. And I thought, great, we'll both grow together. But fast forward a year, I'd done all the things that I said. Well, she was still talking about the things that she wanted to do. She didn't actually want to achieve her goals. She wanted to achieve her goals. If she had achieved her goals, then she could no longer want to achieve her goals because she would have had them. You'll see this all the time. Somebody who's trying to lose weight, somebody who's trying to be rich, somebody who's trying to grind and be successful. If they actually were to succeed, they want to have the thing that they're trying to work towards. And because they've identified themselves so strongly with the process of wanting and trying, but never actually getting to where they want to be, they'll subconsciously get in their own way. So the only way to actually become successful is for who you are and who you want to become the same person. You can still build, but it's not trying. It's becoming somebody who you already are. It's having the material and external world catch up to how you feel about yourself.
Do or do not. There is no try.
The thing that my friend realized was that he wanted to be a lazy, laid-back, chill guy who can travel and hang out, do all that kind of stuff. But he wasn't going to be able to get there by grinding and working hard. He had to be that person already in order for him to become that person who he wanted to be. This is probably the most important thing that he told me that really transformed my life. With this YouTube video that you're watching right now, I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. I'm becoming a YouTuber. Trying indicates that there's some possibility that I won't succeed, but that's not the case. And the way that my friend put it to me was to really think about it like a destination on a road trip. You may have a flat tire along the way. Maybe you get lost. Maybe it'll take a bit longer or be a bit harder than you anticipated. But there's no question, as long as you keep going, keep moving in the right direction, you'll eventually arrive at your destination. And if you want to make more in less time so you can have more freedom in your life, then subscribe to this channel and maybe check out this video next where MrBeast reveals his secrets on how he's able to have unlimited motivation and how you can apply it into your own life within a few minutes.